I just did everything the best I could, and I was super nervous. I couldn't sleep the night before, and but I woke up. So I woke up, and I had to, so the first like hour of my passage is the most dangerous part of the passage because I was on the Columbia River and there's a river bar there that's called the Graveyard of the Pacific, and it's the most dangerous river bar in the entire world. And that was my first test, was crossing that river
That's
bar.
crazy.
It takes like an hour
Just
to
going
cross.
straight boss level the first time playing the video game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, seriously.
Expert level.
And so like that was like crippling scary. And so I'd never sailed that early in the morning, so I had to time it for the correct slack tide to cross. And when I left, I'd never experienced as much current as it was like 8 knots of current. So the super fast current that I'm going with. So I realized obviously immediately that I was gonna be there way too quick. So from when I left my marina to when I crossed the bar, I literally so I got out the marina, realized the current was too quick, and I turned the boat around and I sailed backwards down the river the entire time because I was going so fast. So I had to slow the boat down. So I literally sailed. I was sailing backwards, but the current was so strong that it was like I was sailing forward, but the current was so strong I was going only like a knot backwards. So the whole time, yeah, I sailed backwards down the river. And then when I got to the bar, turned around and then crossed the bar. Yeah.
Did you at any point were you just like overwhelmed and wanted to give up, or were you so focused that you were just like nothing's gonna stop me?
Was like, nothing's gonna stop me. I mean, I was terrified. Like I had all the doubts and stuff, but I was like, I just had to keep telling myself that whatever happens, like I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yep.
And you know, there are things that can go wrong, so wrong, especially on a river when you're that close to land with that much current crossing the bar. That like there's. It's just a part of it was just a leap of faith that that everything will work out.
Yeah.
And but yeah, and then as soon as I crossed the bar, my anxiety went down a lot, and I was like, all right, and I could see I was in the ocean for the first time.
You're like whales,
And
dolphins, jellyfish, sunset.
It was awesome.
And then rudder.
Yeah, so that was the scariest moment for sure, was when the rudder failed. And that was on day like 5. Yeah, that was terrifying because it was the height of the storm that I was in. And or it wasn't really like a storm, but it was 38 knots of wind, so it was the height. It was the most wind I experienced, and the swells were really big. And I was doing a repair on my 2 of the battens in my mainsail that like keep the sail rigid. They popped out, and then one of the cars that takes the mainsail up also popped out. And so I was right in the middle of repairing that. So my sails were in like a vulnerable position. And then my rudder failed, and it locked hard to starboard, so hard to right. And then that put the boat with the beam to the side of the boat to the waves. And so the boat literally it was like 4 hours I was trying to figure this out, and like the boat would literally rock from here to here. Yeah. And
so like a little bit more would have turned over.
it wouldn't have flipped over in those conditions because the keel under the boat is this giant lead weight, basically, so that's what keeps the boat from flipping. But in worse conditions, yeah, if you go sideways to the waves, you'll flip. But I mean, the waves were huge, like like they were big. Like I would look up at the waves, and then when the boat would rock over, like there's the lifelines that are here, and like so the water would be coming into the lifelines. So like I would be on the boat looking like horizontally at the
I have
ocean,
anxiety,
and then immediately goes over to the other side, and it's the same thing. And I had to I have no choice. There's, so I jumped down in the. At first, what you can do when you have rudder failure is you get a bucket and you throw it over the side, the opposite side or whatever, and it can steer the boat right. And so I had a bucket and it was filled with fishing lures. So I grabbed the bucket and I throw it down the stairwell, down the cockpit hatch. And I grabbed the bucket, throw the bucket over to try and straighten the boat out, and it didn't work. And then so I hopped down in the engine room where the rudder quadrant is. But I'm like literally getting thrown from one side to the other in this room. And every once in a while, the rudder quadrant would would slam to the other side. So the whole rudder would slam, and I could see it chipping away at the fiberglass. And if you lose the rudder, that's how you sink a boat. And because it's a massive hole in the boat, so if that post goes, the boat sinks. And so I saw that. I was like, that's not good. And I was also worried about getting my finger caught between the cable and the quadrant, so it would just take my finger straight off. Because every once in a while it was slamming. The whole thing was slamming. And so I tried to put the cables back on, but there was not enough tension. So I managed to. Well, before I got it, I got so like the most sick I've ever been in my entire life, and I think it was a combination of just sick with fear, and then like legit seasickness as well because of so much movement. And so I knew I had to take a break. So I get out of the hatch and I go down the stairs, and all of a sudden I start stepping on all these fishing lures that I had dumped down the stairs earlier, and that sucked. And then I got in my bed, my bunk, and I just laid there, and I just for 15, 20 minutes, I just laid there just to try and settle myself and calm myself down, and then I went back in, and I was able to do a temporary fix, and I lashed the two cables together, and was able to straighten out the rudder, and then yeah.
That has to do something for your confidence, right? When you're put in these situations.
I don't know, man. It humbled me for sure. 'Cause it makes you realize how incredibly, if something breaks in the wrong moment, it took everything to fix it. You know what I mean? So something breaks in the wrong. It was it was a humbling and reminder that it is no joke. You know what I mean? So I don't know that it boosted my confidence.
Well, I mean, in the fact that you can get through anything. I mean, there's fight or flight, right?
Well,
you didn't fight.
Right.
You fought.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's it just made me much more aware of the whole. I was aware, but when you experience. I was aware things could go very wrong, but when you kind of experience it, it can get way worse than that. If it was 50-mile-per-hour winds and 20-foot, 30-foot swells, seas, the boat would have rolled and it would have been over. There's nothing you could do at that point,
Well, I'm happy you're still alive with us.
Yeah.
So, what kind of things did you do when the things that we didn't get to see on camera and documented? Were you watching movies, TV shows, reading books?
No, I spent a lot of my downtime, so between obviously a lot of the time I spent managing the boat and navigating and managing the sails, but the rest of my downtime I spent editing videos and stuff. So I didn't do any really reading or anything. I was making the videos and I was filming for YouTube as well. So I was doing both of those things, which was a lot of work.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I mean, I would just there were times though that I'd sit outside every sailor's worst fear is falling overboard. So it's sometimes I'd just sit outside and be looking, and dude, it's just I would keep thinking about it.
Intrusive
all
thoughts.
Exactly. All it takes is me just falling overboard, and then you just watch the boat. I would imagine watching the boat sail away, and go through those emotions. How would that feel? That'd be crazy. But I was always clipped in for the most part with my harness clipped into the boat. But that's where that's what gets sailors is the biggest issue for solo sailors is sleep deprivation, because sleep is hard to figure out how you're going to sleep. And sleep, people get really tired, and then there's a storm or rudder failure, and then you're already sleep deprived, you didn't sleep, and you forget to clip in, and then something happens and you just slip and fall over the boat, and that's how it gets you.
Wow.
So
I would be afraid just to go to sleep, and then just all the anxiety of something's gonna happen,
I had
nobody's
all that
watching anything.
I had all that anxiety, because the boat makes so I'd only sailed the boat on the river, and it wasn't the river's fine, but out in the boat was making noises I didn't think the boat was capable of, and I would sit there and it's people think crossing this an ocean. I feel a lot of people think it's this calm and peaceful
boat ASMR ocean.
Yeah, dude, it's chaos inside the cabin. It's chaos. Everything's cracking and creaking and slamming, and every once in a while there's this rogue wave that'll come from a different angle, and it'll feel like you're running into a brick wall. You know what I mean? There's some times where I legitimately thought I hit something in the water. and like I had to get out and like look around, but it was just a crazy wave that just timed perfectly and slammed the side of the boat, and it's literally like running into a wall, and like the whole boat, like you get jerked, and but yeah, so yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, and that was only just like a week into
Yeah,
your
so that was a week
sail,
into
right?
it, and so yeah, I was like, this is what have I done?
Yeah.
What am I doing? But
Yeah, and then you made the next couple days or weeks. You ended up on 24. Kobe Bryant, shout out the
oh,
King
I ended
Mamba.
up on Kobe Bryant.
24. You took
24.
24 days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was 25
Oh, it's
total.
25?
25
Oh,
total.
okay.
Yeah.
I looked online, it said 24.
Yeah.
So Google's not always right, people.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
crazy. It's on Google.
Yeah, I just said April, what was it, like 30th to like mid 24th?
I left the 29th, I think.
Oh,
I had to
okay.
leave a day early.
Can't trust Google
Yeah,
anymore. Yeah. All right. So you took about 25 days to get there, and it was interesting because you had Starlink, right? The technology we have these days,
Yeah.
you can be connected to people. So it's not like you had no contact with anybody.
Yeah.
You were sailing by the stars or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you had connection to things. So how did that affect your experience of like sailing?
I think it like the whole time I had this like massive guilt of being connected to the outside world, because you read about all of the. I'm very far from the first person who's ever done it, and so many other sailors have done so many more cool things than I have. I'd say the majority of sailors have done cooler things than I have, but you read about all your like heroes and all these guys, and none of them use Starlink, and all of them talk about their experiences, and it's so pure, and they're all like borderline begin to like go into, because isolation is like the worst thing for a human. And like I know this one guy, Jerome Rand, I went on his podcast. He's just a super cool guy. Nobody knows about him. He doesn't have a big account or anything, but he sailed around the world nonstop, and it took him 279 days,
wow.
and he had no Starlink or anything. And like you hear the stuff that he said, like he borderline went insane, and you get so in tune with your environment in the boat. I felt like the Starlink was like pulling away from that, so I did feel incredibly guilty. And I think in the future I'll for sure do a passage where I don't bring the Starlink, just because I want to experience it for real. You know what I mean? So
I think there's time. So when I joined the Peace Corps, I was like super set on not talking to anybody. I'm gonna be so isolated. I'll talk to people every couple months, and I get there, and then to give you this SIM card where you can it has like a Facebook Messenger stuff, so you can talk to people.
Yeah.
And then I went to the same thing where it's like, do I want to be connected to people? And even like I got a regular phone, so I didn't use my iPhone. And I said, I'm just gonna use this for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I think about like a week into having to type on T9.
Yeah.
The old school phones. You're like just to type it one letter. I was like, okay, no, I didn't do that, and I just went back to it. So I know that guilt that you're feeling, but I think no matter what, there's still other challenges, besides just being connected. Like
I don't know. It's when you cross like an ocean, it's a time to be like, I think without the Starlink and the connection, because it worked extremely well. Without it, I would have been much more present in it. And I wanted to experience that for sure. But I brought it because the goal has always been I never in a million years thought I was going to go as viral as I did. But like the goal has been to have social media fund my expedition around the world. That has been the goal. So I did it with the intention of that. So I was like, I'm going to bring it,
Yeah, smart. I mean, it's a good business move as well.
And I think the part of the reason why I went viral is because I don't think there's really been any Starlink's being able to cross an ocean with 100% like Wi-Fi the entire time is like a relatively like that's only like I think it was a year or 2 years ago was that possible, and I haven't really seen anybody do it. So I think that's when I posted it's day one of this many days. Like people could see we're going to see the journey live stream. So I think that's part of the reason why it because people wanted to see if I made it.
Yeah. No, I think one of the big reason that people started following you is because you're an ordinary guy.
Yeah.
That people see you, they see themselves
less than ordinary
and extraordinary. But you're very authentic. You're very yourself. You're like, I'm a little awkward, a little social anxiety, but like So everybody here, like,
Yeah.
what I learned the most about doing these podcasts with people who have like millions of followers, 10,000 followers, no social media. We all have flaws. We all have anxiety.
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
have, make mistakes, and we're all just the same.
Yeah.
So I think, you spoke to so many people just being your authentic self that people really just felt seen.
Yeah.
So I
that's
think
cool.
I think that's what you're doing, and I speak for a lot of people where say authenticity is the number one thing that draws people in.
Yeah.
And there's not another Oliver Widger on this
No.
on this planet, and I think that's why you're so loved.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I don't have I've tried to be inauthentic. I don't have it in me. Like
Yeah,
I can't do it. Like, yeah, and I'm the last person on earth literally to post on social media, but it was just that one video that I posted was everything. Cause like, the one that went to my bosses. Cause once that happened, I was like, well, everybody knows about that. That's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And I was like, I'm just gonna double down and I'm just gonna go for it. And like, so I just kept doing it. And it was humiliating. Like, everybody thought I was crazy. Like, people were messaging me, like somebody was like, are you like bipolar? And I just kept, I allowed those, comments to like penetrate in a way. Cause like I felt it and I just wanted to like, I wanted to show, how people like take the like counts off on their social media. I left my like counts on always because I like to feel it. You know what I mean? I like to feel the failure and the embarrassment.
That's how growth happens.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and so yeah, everyone thought I was crazy, but
Yeah,
I am crazy a little bit for sure.
I mean,
I'm a little
so
quirky.
am I. I mean,
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
stuff that's against the norm, to trailblaze, you got to be a little bit crazy.
Yeah,